Hey guys, so I thought I would do a little tutorial on spiders and how to animate a little spider. I think I'm so fascinated with spiders. You know, I've always, since I was a kid, I used to have baboon spiders in my house, and if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. A very scary looking thing, but they're not. They don't really bite you that much. And we did a spider a long time ago for my company, for a commercial, and you know, I was looking around at trying to get some inspiration for things online to animate and to teach you guys, and I thought, you know, I can't see a lot of really cool spider animation tutorials online, so I thought, why not let you guys learn how to do this. It's pretty straightforward actually with a spider. A lot of people look at it, a lot of animators will look at it and think, oh, I can't animate that, that's just, there's too much stuff going on, there's so many legs, what do I do? But it's quite straightforward if I explain it all to you in principle. What I'm going to do, so what you'll end up having, let me just show you what you'll end up having. So you'll have a spider that's kind of walking forwards, and we'll animate it first of all on the spot, and then we will have it moving forward on its trajectory, and we'll need to time the feet so that there's no sliding, hopefully. But just for the purpose of your learning how to animate a spider, this is what you'll probably end up with at the end of the course. So very cool, and yeah, let's get right on to it. So to begin, we need to give credit to the rigger, and that would be Keel Figgins. So he is an awesome animator, and I wish I could have met him. But Keel, your website needs an update for sure. But he's got so many really cool characters online that you can go and buy and have a play with, like the Gentle Giant. I really want to animate him, but you know, the students, then they would have to pay for it, and the Saber as well. So I'm trying to do courses that are free for now, and while we build out our animation course library, then so on here, if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find the little proxy spider rig, and it's free, but I recommend going in and buying some other cool rigs from him. And thanks, Keel, for the rig. So before we carry on, I just wanted to shill our academy. We have Sophoria Academy, as most of you are aware already. We have a massive 12-week dragon course, and there's a lot of free stuff online, so you can watch you know, how to animate different walk cycles, quadrupeds, and things like that. And there's the dragon 12-week course, and yeah, you can come learn at the academy. It's pretty awesome. And yeah, there's also bundles as well, so you can also grab some bundles if you're wanting to animate lots of raptors. You know, for the wild animals, you can get the courses at a discount. So yeah, in the dragon course, I know it's quite expensive for a lot of you, but it is yeah, it's just that you know, it's such a long course, and the rig itself is super detailed. That's why it's quite expensive at the time. But I think now we've dropped the price to $999, and this is $599 or something with no rig. And you can, if you don't want to use the rig, you can use another rig like Trong's rig, and carry on from there. Cool, let's go. You don't want to look at that, you want to look at spiders. So okay, well, where do you begin when you're animating a spider? What is the main things to try and keep in mind? Let me first of all just mute the let's just turn off this, and we'll mute the translation forward of the walk cycle. So I'm right click muting it. And if we're looking at the mechanics of what the spider is doing, okay, so it's quite fast at the moment, but if we're looking at the mechanics, so we have this leg, okay, and this leg, they are doing the same thing. Sure, it's not the same position, but in theory, when this foot touches the floor, it moves backwards, and the same with this one. Okay, and then on the other side, we're having the opposite. So we're having this leg and the backward leg, they're doing the opposite. So they're going forward, and that's going forward. All right, and if you can think of it like that, you technically are done. That's it. So once you've done that, you just would then mirror it onto the other side and do the animation on the other side, maybe an offset of 1 frame or so, and then you just work on the body later. And that's it. That's all you need to know to animate a spider. So when I talk about that, let's just go through. So you see, if you keep your eyes on this foot and this foot, and this foot and this foot together as I scrub through, you can see that those 2 feet in the front are moving backwards, and the ones the second and fourth are moving backwards and forwards together, backwards and forwards together, backwards and forwards together. Okay, understanding that, you end up with a spider cycle. Okay, and at the end of the course, I'll show you a little cool trick just to animate a scene time warp in the scene, and you can just have the spider sort of stop, carry on, stop, carry on, stop, carry on, stop, carry on. Okay. So if you are downloading the rig or you're opening the scene, you can reference the rig into the scene. So I'm going to open up the start scene, which is that one. And this is what you should have in your scene when you open it up. So you'd have the rig there, and yeah, there we go. So there's a let me just go through the rig quickly. So we have a visibility controller at the top, and we have visibility of different parts of the rigs. So these would be the legs, forward A, B, C, D. So forward, second, third, fourth. So if you take the forward and you hide it, you can work on each one individually, which is really, really cool. And I think it's a really intuitive way that Keel set up the rig to not take away too much distraction. Because if you turn everything on, you're like, nope, I'm not doing that. No ways. We have the clavicle visibility controllers. These are for the first part of the cycle. I won't use them in this lesson because, to be honest, we won't need them for the cycle. We can add them in later if you wanted to, but it doesn't really do too much damage. These would probably be used mainly for an attack, or if it was hanging from a tree or something different. And going through the legs, we have an IK setup on the feet, which is nice. So we have an IK foot moving. On top of that, we have a leg twist and a knee twist, which is just these 2 controllers. It's just a set-driven controller that is rotating those together. Or if you just wanted to do the knee, you can also just rotate that one on its own. But these controllers also would do more or less the same thing. Okay, I don't know if you can move them together. Yeah, you'd get a kind of double transformation thing going on, but that's another thing altogether. And then those are the legs. And then we have a little, so yeah, we have that knee controller. We have a controller for the main torso. Okay, so for this area. And this is what we will animate at the end when we are going up and down, and a little bit of rotation left and right. I don't know why there's keys on here already. Let me just zero that out. And then we have the pulp. So we have we have the front of the fangs, let's say, of the spider, and yeah, that's pretty cool. And then at the back we have this tail, and we can just animate like a little offset on the tail later on. So we'll animate a little bit of an offset on this and give it a little bit of life as it wiggles around. Okay, cool. And I think that's all you need to know. I mean, the rig, we have the motion path controller at the bottom, so this would drag it's really cool because he'll set it up so that you don't have to move the root controller, which I've actually locked. Oh, another thing is in the scene, if you're referencing it in, so if you're going File, Create Reference, which every animator should do, you would have the Spider Rig referenced in, but the scale is very small, so I've scaled it up to 30 over there. Anyway, this is the motion path thing that moves. It actually does move the root, so I was wrong, sorry. But there it is. It is the motion path thing that we just, you can constrain that to a path if you want, and animate that. Okay, let's go forward. So where do we begin? Well, first of all, we need reference, right? So everyone that is animating anything always needs some sort of reference. And I have that in the shape of a pretty cool tutorial from 14 years ago that I found. And it's I can put the link, I can put the link in the description. It's called How to Animate a Walking Spider. And these are the classics. I mean, these videos are done by traditional animators that spent so much time back in the days with no research also, and working on how to animate each part, right? So I don't know, the quality obviously is horrendous, but yeah. So the principle is that the front two legs work opposite each other as if you're walking like a biped. Okay, let me just make this maybe bigger. And then the second two legs do the opposite of the front. So as this front leg goes back, the second leg comes forward. And same on this side. Same. It's quite fast, but you get the sort of general idea, concept behind it. And then the two red ones, so the third one will mimic the first one. So as it's going back and then it comes forward, this spider's back leg is massive, so he's putting it nice and high in the air, as the animator is doing. And then the last two are mimicking the second two, which I explained right in the beginning. Okay, and then when you get it, that's what the spider does. Looks pretty crazy, but yeah, that's it. And then off he goes. And when I looked at that, I read animation quite differently to a lot of people. There's a lot of cool tutorials. There's a nice Blender one here I've seen recently. I'm not a Blender person, but a lot of students are requesting me to do some animation in Blender. So I'm thinking about doing some courses there. And yeah, so when I read the animation of some stuff, sometimes I see it and I think straight away, okay, it could use a little bit of life, but this is just perfect. So I use that as a reference. Okay. You can apply this principle also to anything. So if anything that has 8 legs, you can apply it to. So maybe an ant or some other creature that has 8 legs, you apply the same principle to it. So you don't have to be restricted to animating just a spider. Okay. And yeah, if you're on our academy, on our website, we've got lots of really cool tutorials, animation tips, simulating muscles, and when to shift the weight. There's a really cool description of the dragon rig, really nice, and dog walk cycles and stuff, which are actually they go really into detail, and I spend a lot of time on them, so they're on our main academy. Good, let's begin. So to start off with, we're going to work on one side of the feet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to mirror the animation onto the other side. I'm going to show you a cool trick to do it without any fancy plugins, and you'll be happy days. One of the things to note in the beginning is that the axis of X and this X, it says in local transform mode, it's saying that the X is on the opposite side. So when you're pasting the animation over, it's going to, if the X position is over here and you paste it over, it's going to bring it in like this. So it's going to do the mirror of it because it's inverted. But then what we do is we just snap it back to the mirrored position. So we'll invert the whole curve, but I'll teach you all about that in a second. Cool. So let's go ahead and hide some of the rig that we don't want to see. We don't need to see the pulp or the tail or the body at the moment. We don't need to see the body tilt. I don't know what that is. And the leg clavicle, we don't need to see those. We want to focus on, and the motion parts, we don't need to see that. We want to focus on the legs only for now. And we're going to be working on the front legs. So we don't need to see anything else. Okay. Cool. I've already done the cycle in the other Maya scene, so apologies if it's not 100% identical to this one, but I'm just going to try and mimic it as best as I can. Okay, I'm going to move this to the other monitor for reference, just in case I stray off. And let's begin. So the first thing we want to do is to figure out the length of the movement of the foot backwards. Okay. Oh, another thing to remember is to please be careful, because if you bring it too close, you see what happens is this joint will, this pull up vector will move past and it will flip the joint over. You see, boom. So you can either move the pull vector or just not animate it like that. So we won't animate it like that. But for now, I want to get the shape of the actual spider's second legs in a different pose. This is more of a wolf spider, so the animation of the wolf spider would be in this position, right? So it would walk with these two legs close together, and the other two going, and there would be this gap here, right? But I'm going to just teach you a basic cycle, and you guys can go from there. I'm going to take these two legs, I'm going to bring them back, and I'm going to move them out of the way a little bit. So I'll move them out here and out here just a little bit, just to get them out the way for now. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to be mirroring the animation over, so they will be identical later on. But we're going to be working on this leg first. Okay. Cool. So let's start at 30 frames per second. Make sure you're in your animation window and you're at 30 frames per second. And we're going to do a cycle. I think it was 20 frames or so. Yeah, I think I did it at 20 because it was just so easy to... what I want to do is to teach you guys how to animate a character easily. A lot of animators just say, oh, I can't do it. I'm not good enough. But you have an amazing teacher here, and he's going to teach you all the necessary ways to do it easily. So we do it in tens, 10, 20 in one. Okay. Oh, so let's set a keyframe at 1 on this foot. Yeah, we can just remove the second leg controller, and I'm going to reach forward a little bit on the foot there. So I'll reach forward that foot, maybe that value. And I'm going to middle mouse. So just about the time slider, if you guys are not familiar with animation, you probably want to follow my animation preferences course. It's free, and you can learn how to set up Maya the way I set it up. And I have hotkeys to like delete keys. So if I set a couple of keys on the time slider, I can shift select and delete them, which you can't. If you wanted to do them in Maya, you'd have to right click and delete without the hotkey. So things like that. Okay, so frame 1 and frame 20 will be the same because it's a cycle. Okay, so we're going to go to frame 10 and we're going to bring that foot back. Obviously, we don't want to snap the joint. So just before the joint snaps, you can bring it back there, like that. Okay. So that would be more or less the movement. Maybe it's even a bit too far. Right, so something like that. Doesn't need to come all the way in and starts getting uncomfortable. So just a little bit, maybe there, like that. And then it's going to go back again. And for the movement back, we use always use a rule of 3. So you're going 1, 2, 3 frames and you do the up position. So the leg would go up here, but not only does it go up and forward, it actually goes out to the side. So if you watch spiders, they move their legs out to the side like this. Okay, so you're going to go out to the side and forward, and the leg would just kind of pull like this. You see, it looks really freaky how they snap forward like that. Boom, boom. And we can then open up the graph editor. So you'll go to Windows Animation Editors, Graph Editor. If you don't have the hotkey, I have a hotkey assigned as G. Again, watch the tutorial. And here is our cycle starting. So we can take the curve and cycle it. Okay. And we can see what the leg is doing at frame 13. And what we don't want to have, more or less, is this hard hit. You see, so once we've keyed that in, we've got this flat tangent coming on here, this flat tangent. We don't want that. We want to overshoot that tangent. By the way, I have normal view on, so you can, in the graph editor, you press 1, 2, 3. I have normal view, so I see all the curves together. That's just my preference. But if you want to go into the standard view, it's just press 1 or go to view, absolute view. Okay. And then the next thing we want to do, so I'm softening that movement so it's not so sticky there, that keyframe. And then the next thing we want to do is control this movement backwards in Z. This movement. It's super important that we don't have a flat tangent at the beginning nor at the end. Okay, why does that make sense? There is a tutorial, again, I explained that in quadruped walk cycles, but the foot will kind of come to a stop over one frame. So if we were to go back to the first frame, you'll see the first and the last frame stick. It's the same frame. And even before and after, it slows down. So we don't want that. We want to take the tangents. I have weighted tangents on, by the way. So you go to key curves and then just make them weighted tangents, or you can press these buttons on the graph editor. And that will give you weight on the tangent. If that doesn't work for you, I think it's in the animation settings. Let's do 30 frames per second. I don't know why that's at 1, but we have the animation. I have weighted tangents as default. Okay, cool. And then yeah, so what you want to do is you want to take this curve and you want to point it towards that key on the Z curve. Same on the other side. So point it towards each other and try and get a straight line going on. By default, you'll get a nice overshoot on the leg. And then when you're coming back into the beginning of the cycle, at the end of the frame, you want to make sure that is also, you're looking at this tangent and you want that to line up on the curve. Okay, don't go crazy like this. Just rotate it up a little bit. And that's all you need to do. Okay, so that the foot is moving consistently along the ground, backwards and then going up. Okay, good. Perfection. So, that's good. So what we can do, and what I will be explaining to you later, is how to mimic the animation left and right. But for now, let's just move to the second leg. So I'm going to just turn the second leg on. First one off, second one on. And we'll do the same thing, but opposite. So what I mean by that is that at the beginning of this cycle, right, we're going to have that leg pretty much in line with the body, the back here. And we can drag it out a bit because it's a bit bent like that. But that's why we have the awesome leg twist feature to twist the leg straighter. At frame 1, we're just going to set a key. I don't really know what my distance is here. I'm just eyeballing it right now. just line it up with the side of the body from the top view. And then at frame 10, we are going to do the opposite, right? So at frame 10, we're going to be coming forward at this frame. So we're going to be coming forward, and then we'll be going backwards. So we'll copy frame 1 to 20. So frame 1, middle mouse drag to 20 and set the key. Okay, so that should be doing the opposite of the front. Okay. Yeah, okay. So on the forward contact, what you want to try to do is try to make sure that the leg lines up with the other foot leaving there. So there, and back again. And we can take frame 1, we can go, remember, 1, 2, 3 frames, we go up. Okay. So we're going up here, and then we're going out a little bit. You can also add in a little bit more of the an out key here if you wanted to. So you could add another key in here just to soften that, but you don't need to, because you can take the tangents and rotate them. So you overshoot that without adding extra unnecessary keyframes. Okay, so the height is moving and everyone's happy. Very simple. And what we can do then also is just to try to correct this bend in the leg here. So we're going to add a little bit of a knee twist. A little bit of a leg twist. I'm actually going to just check if we have keys on here. No. So we're going to add a little bit of a leg twist at frame 1, set the key. Middle mouse to 20, set the key. So it's the same. And that should follow through. So it should follow through when it's taking the step forward as well. So we can also set the key here if you want. Not necessary, but there we go. Okay, good. Fine. Now, the next thing we can do is the third leg. So I'm happy with that one. We're going to go to the third leg. So let me just turn this on. And you can see I've got a hotkey also for hiding the curves, which is really nice. It's just an animator's dream. I don't know why Maya doesn't have that as standard, but yeah, that is the way. So at frame 1, it's different. So we're going to have the foot not where it is now. It's going to be all the way forward here, like this, tucked away. It's a bit close to the body, so I'm going to pull it out maybe here. Somewhere here, and it's going to be moving backwards, same as the front leg. So at frame 10, you're going to have that leg go backwards. Okay, don't really know the distance yet. We're going to have to calculate that in a minute, but for now, just eyeballing the amount of distance it travels should be fine. And then middle mouse 1 to 20, set the key. Cycle your curves. Go to frame 4. No, go to frame, 1, 2, 3, 13. And we're going to lift up this leg because it's now moving forward, remember? So it's going forward, and yeah, we need to have it go out also a little bit. So it goes out a little bit there. And then we overshoot the curves, very simple. And by now you're getting used to everything. Just holding shift, dragging it out. Adding a bit of stuff to that. Now we've got all 3 legs going. Boom, 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 boom. Very cool. Well done. I'm going to save this scene as a side version. So I'm going to put anyway, you guys save your scenes now at this stage. You don't want to have Maya crash on you. So yeah, there we go. Good. Last one, but not least, of course, is leg back legs. Okay, so remember that they are doing the same as the second leg set. So we can maybe I really like that position, but maybe it could go back a little further. I'll just set the key there. We're going to probably change that anyway. And I might move it out. No, I like it there for now. So 1 to 20, set the key. Go to 10. And remember that the leg is coming forward at this frame. So we're going to go forward. You see, that's why I didn't like it. There, I want it to be maybe out a little bit more. So we're getting a nicer shape at frame 1 to 20. So I've just moved it out away, a little bit away from the back of the spider. And at frame 10, let me just delete that. We're going to just drag it forward so that it lines up more or less with, in the top position, with the other foot. Okay, so somewhere over here. I still think even now it's still a bit close. So tell you what I'm going to do is take all of X and I'm going to just shift it out a little bit, shift it down. So I'm pulling everything towards the other side. Okay, there, and then we have the upward key, which is this one. And remember, we need to go sideways as well. So we will then look at these two curves and overshoot them as much as we can. It's a bit much. Oh, I didn't actually, yeah, so here that's actually supposed to be zeroed down. That's interesting. Let me just bring that in there. That's supposed to be, yeah, okay, that is fine. I'm just going to soften that key then and smooth out these handles. Oops. Take this one, smooth it out a little bit. Take this one, smooth it out a little bit. Okay. The most important thing is the translation of Z as it is moving back. That is the most important part. And I have a feeling that the amount of movement is quite a lot. But we will find all that out in a second. Take your legs now, all of them. So we're going to take the leg viz, turn it on, and we're going to take all of our legs just to make sure that everything is in fact cycling. So we're going to take all the keys, I'll just press 3, and we just cycle left and right. So we're going to go to curves, pre-infinity cycle, post-infinity cycle, and that'll work. Something's happening here on this controller. Okay, it's interesting. I think something's not right with that one. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's see which leg this is. It's this one. Okay. So up. Okay, so at frame 10 we didn't key that in, so we'll just zero that out there. And I'm assuming that's happening for everything else too. So let me just flatten these two tangents. Sometimes I rush things and I get things messed up, but if you're in the same boat, then good for everybody. And this, I'm assuming, is the value I need for this one. So I'll paste that back in there. Keep that flat. There's the overshoot, it's working. It's fine, and Z is fine. So that should technically work. It's not sliding backwards in a different angle or anything. Going straight back, it's fine. Alright, and that's the mechanics of these steps for now. There's a big pop on this one. Just check what's going on here. There it is, I can see that. This is interesting too. So we're going frame 1, I'll set the key, and 20, set the key. Okay, that's probably why it didn't work. I didn't copy and paste. So looking at everything, it's looking fine. Yeah, I'm happy for now. Okay, what we did on the first foot when we corrected that translation of Z, okay, this key here, we need to do it on the other ones too. But before we do that, we need to calculate, and this is the hard part. When animating so many legs, we need to calculate that the distance that this travels on the ground is exactly the same as the distance that this travels on the ground. If it didn't, this spider would be moving faster and slower and faster and slower along the ground. So we don't want to have that happen. We want to have it moving at a constant speed. And how to do that is the absolute trick. So we're going to start with the first. Well, let's start with these two. Okay, so let's start with the ones that are actually going backwards in the same space. So we're going to go to the third leg across, and I'm going to just, as we did before, I'm just going to try to line up the tangents, and then the first one as well, line up that tangent, like that. And I'm going to select that one and the front one. And I'm not interested in what happens after the foot leaves the ground. I'm more interested in this speed here. But it looks perfect because I am in normalized mode. But if I go into standard mode, I must make sure that the distances are traveling the same. How to do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to remember to undo this, by the way. So go and sync the selection in Graph Editor. So you right click over Z, sync selection, and just select it again. And we can see if we zoom in on the graph that actually the distance between here is greater than the distance between here. And how do we make that work? I hear you ask. Okay. It's a bit of a game. It's a bit of a challenge. What you need to do is to take one of them and line it up with the other one. So you bring it over on top of the other foot. The other keyframe. Then you take either the top one or the bottom one and you move them towards each other. It's normally a case of both, so I'd bring that one down and that one up. And then you just have to kind of eyeball it, and you just have to say, okay, well, that is now traveling more or less at the same speed. All right? The tangents also help, by the way. But if we look at what the foot's doing, it's traveling very far because we move the whole curve down, right? So we need to take this curve, not that one, this one, and we need to move it back into place where we had it before. So it's separated from the second one again. Okay. And then the distance of those two moving backwards will be more or less the same. Okay, let's just see if that can go back any further. Might be able to. So I might be able to give them a bit more room here in the front by pushing it quite far at the back there. Okay, so those two are working. The next part is to do the other two. And then we need to marry the other two to the first two. So let's do these two together. I'm going to go Z. Z. Oh, I haven't even done my amazing adjustments of the Z curve. So I'm going to just do them both together. And just have that looking at that one. I'm assuming I'm doing it the right way. Let me just check. Yeah, it's moving backwards, so it's that backwards, okay. And then that's not flat, so we then round off these tangents, overshoot in this direction. Beginning and the end. Very important to do this, you guys, very important. Then we'll take one of them and bring it on top of the other one. Doesn't matter what it does in the viewport, don't worry. Don't you worry. And then we're going to try to marry up these two. Oops. Here it's difficult because you need to select both the beginning and the end ones and move them up towards each other. Okay, and then these ones towards each other again, there. And just lining them up. Try and get the tangents also to line up on both of them. Okay, just try and get them all together, and then yeah, they're traveling at the same speed. Now, the tricky part. Let's take that one that's all the way back. I think it's this foot, and we're going to bring that back up again. So I'll bring it back into there. Just check that it's okay still. So you can go a little higher. Yeah. Okay. So now these two are working together perfectly in terms of distance. I know this is a bit boring for you right now, but I promise you it'll save you a lot of work when you're adding it to the path. You won't get any sliding. Now we have to try to match all of them together. This is also the hardest part. For me, anyway. It is the hardest part. It's hard because there's an offset on the curves, right? So we've got the backward front two moving later than the other two. So what I want you to do to not get horrified too much about what your spider's doing in your scene is just to remember, okay, that at frame 10, that's when the second legs are going backwards, and at frame 1, the first and the third are going backwards, and then the second and the fourth are going backwards, and it's represented by the straight line that you've created. We can see straight away that the angles are not the same. See, this angle is not the same as this angle. So that means that those two are not traveling the same as the other two. How do we fix this? We take what we can do. If you want, no, you don't. Well, no, let's not do it. We're creating a buffer curve. We're not going to do that now. What we're going to do is we're going to try and line up these two, let's say, or we could do the front two, whichever one we're happier with. I think front twos. Yeah, okay. We can take these curves and move them back towards our other frame. And one thing for sure, which you won't understand at this point, you'll be thinking, oh my god, my keyframes are not correct. Oh my god, what's going to happen? That's because Maya starts at frame 1, unfortunately. It is just the way of the world, and we all have to adjust for that and live with that. But it's not to worry. What we want to do is try to line up the distance, the value of that one, and not the keyframe. Don't bring the keyframe there. Don't do that. Bring the beginning and the end keys together up until the speed angle, this curve lines up with each other more or less. You might need to rotate tangents around and fiddle around with those until you get more or less a line that is on top of each other, more or less. Okay. And when you're happy with that, all is well for those two. And yeah, we can do the same for that one. So that would go up, but I think more or less those two are the same. And then we have the last one, and we bring that up. Don't worry what happens in your viewport. It's not important. And now all you need to do is line up this one with that one. Okay, so we take those two and we bring them up. And we're going to take these two handles and make them line up. So we have more or less a nice solid line going generally in that direction. And there's no crazy like this or anything like that, because the leg will speed up and slow down. It doesn't matter what happens before or after. That's not important. It's this trajectory. And it's not perfect for now, but in terms of the animation lesson, that's all you need to know. Now, to bring everything back to normal, this is the tricky part. Okay, so let's select the first and the first foot and the second foot. Look at them, they're so far away from each other because we moved them up. So we're going to take them both and drag them back. Okay, so somewhere like that. Yeah. Oh, I forgot. Sorry, we okay, let's not do that for now. Let's leave that as it is. Go back to whatever you were doing. We need to offset so the front's going back first. So the second and the fourth, those two need to be offset back to 10, right? So there now, I've held shift and I dragged it over to 10. So they're actually going to be moving the opposite of each other as per the normal. Okay, so the second leg, this one, we need to bring it back. Okay, and we're lining it up more or less at frame, where was it? Yeah, so for frame 1, we can have that leg back a bit. Remember, it was lined up with the middle of the body. Frame 1. And these tangents can come together a bit more. And then we have the backward. Let me just check what the back's doing. It's actually looking quite fine. So it's now the front one. And you can just take the whole curve. Don't change any values and just drag it until at frame 1 it's not overextending itself there. So it's where we had it before. You can... The key is, if you wanted to have buffer curves, you can go to View and Show Buffer Curves. So you turn buffer curves on, and then you take what's called like a snapshot. So if I move the curve, Maya will show me what it used to look like. Okay, so you can go back to the actual position it was before. But I'm going to just turn it off because it gets a little distracting. And if I play it back, I think we're done. Okay, I think we're done. That's the hard part. So a little bit of trickery, a little bit of backwards and forwards, but in general the Z curves now are traveling backwards at the same angle. So your eyes need to look for those angles and make sure that they're all the same. That's it. Good. Whew. Interesting. So let's move on. So let's now finish with the legs. We're going to mirror them over to the other side, and we'll have a complete walk cycle with the legs. So how to do that? Well, we remember, this is important by the way, remember that we have the first part of the cycle from frame 1 to 10, where it goes backwards or upward or forwards, and the second part of the cycle from 10 to 20. But there is a frame 1, so the frame is offset by 1 frame. Now, what we want to do is copy from frame 1 to 10, from 10 till 20 on the other foot. Hold shift on this leg, drag and select the timeline, right click, copy, go to the other foot, stay at frame 10, right click, paste. Okay, everyone's happy, nothing crashed. However, if you've noticed that the paste goes to 19 and not to 20, so we need to hold shift, select it, middle mouse and drag it to 20 on that side. Okay, now we go from frame 10 to 20 on this side, left on the other foot again, copy. We go to the first one, we go to frame 1, and we paste it, and it goes to frame 11. See? So what we want to do is, instead of breaking the graph, now we see that we have, if we open up the curves, we've got this this issue going on here with the curve, right? So we can either delete 10 or we can take 11 back. it's important to know what the tangents are doing on either side. You mustn't break the tangent. So normally what I do is I then end up just deleting 10. I'll take frame 11 and I'll move it back by 1 frame. And that solves the problem. Let me explain that again so you understand. I go to frame 10, I press right click delete. I go to frame 11, the tangents are still in place. I shift select it and I drag it back by 1 frame. Okay, make sure your curves are cycling left and right. And I don't, yeah, okay, so the X curve is coming inside, which I told you about before, right? So we need to flip this curve. And how do we do that? We select the curve itself. You go to edit. This is without plugins, by the way. So we just show you a cool skill. So edit scale. And just reset your settings if you have any settings on there. And what you want to do is you want to scale not the time, but the value of, or the pivot of the position of that controller in world space. So you want to negative switch the pivot over by pressing -1 and then apply. And that will flip the curve. If I do that again, you see that the curve flips. I have a hotkey for this, and I have also got a little script that I have for that. But it's just, I mean, it just does this, so it's quite simple. And yeah, that's it. So that leg is doing exactly the opposite of the other leg. Perfect. Then we're going to do the same on the other side and keep going. So we'll go from 1 to 10 left, copy. We go to second leg. We go to 10, paste. Take a 19 to 20. Go back to the other foot. Go to 10 to 20. Copy. Go to the second leg. Which is that one back there, broken. Go to frame 1, and we paste it on here. Look at our curve. Just press 1, frame everything. Okay, I don't know why that's okay. Then remember what we do here is we have to delete 10, select 11, and move it back by 1. Okay? Hope you guys got that one. And just cycle while you're here, check your tangents are all happy, and we're done with that one. Then we select our translation of X curve and we apply the flip. So it flips it over the X-axis back up there. And then we're pretty much mirrored. Oh, one thing that we do need to do is also to flip the leg twist. Yeah, because it's twisting, but it's twisting inverted, so it's twisting the other way around. So we can also flip that one. And it flips it back. Also, okay, good. Third leg. Let's keep going. 1 to 10, copy. Go to the other leg. 10 to 20, paste. Middle mouse, drag. Okay, we go back to third leg, which is that one. We're copying 10 to 20. We're going to third leg. And we're pasting from 1 to 10. We're deleting 10, we're moving 11 back to 10. We're going to check our curve. This is not right. I think this is a knee twist or something. A leg twist. It's interesting. 1 to 20 must be the same key. And we need to flip our... if we have a leg twist, does it have any value on? No, it's fine. There's nothing on there. We need to flip our X curve. This is also not right, so let me just apply. That's not right, so let me just check why this is not working. I think it's probably because there was no set key on here, or I've done it incorrectly maybe. This is all working, so all right. Let me. I think you know what I've done is I've done it twice. I've done it twice. You see, I've done it twice, and that's not correct. So let me just do that one again for you. I'm just going to go to frame 10 to 20, copy on left leg. I paste that from 1 to 10, front leg. And I did, so then, okay, so now I stay here and I go from 1 to 10, copy. I go to the third leg and I go from, I need to take 11 to 10 and we paste that on there. It might break the tangent. Yes, it did. So I don't want to do that. I want to paste it on here. And I want to delete 10 and keep 11, but move 11 back to 10 and 19 to 20. Oh, that's crazy. That's it. That should be working. Then we flip X over. And that leg should be doing the same as the other one. Cool. Last one. Here we go. So let's do 10 to 20 on this leg. Copy, go to this side, go to frame 1, paste. Okay, we're going to go 1 to 10, copy, go to this one, paste it from 10, paste. We're deleting frame 10, moving 11 to 10 and 19 to 20. And then we cycle the curve. That's it. Woohoo! Now, we have to flip this. Let me check if there's a knee twist on here. I don't think there is a knee twist. But let's see. No. And now we should have everything perfectly working. All right. Amazing. Can close that. And just save your work for now. And we will move now onto the body. Okay, so with the body, it's actually quite easy to do the body stuff. I think what we can do for now is just hide all the legs so we don't get too overwhelmed. And we're just going to work on this controller. Okay. It's super, super easy, but remember that a spider is very, very light. It's not heavy. And the amount of animation that I see online of students submitting their animation and this thing is bouncing around all over the place is just not correct. You know, I know you want to animate and show that you understand the up and down movement, fine, but the subtlety is always better, especially because it shows that you understand your character. So that being said, I'm going to just pop up the graph editor again so that we're all working on the same page here. And I'm going to animate the up and down movement of this, but very, very subtle. So I'll set a key at 1. We will go to, so we're going to do it. So what happens is in this cycle, it's difficult because there are so many moving pieces, but I tried to animate it with just going down at 10 and then back to 1, and it looks really weird like this. So that doesn't work, right? So we have to have this sort of double bounce in here, just like you would have in a normal walk cycle. You would have the first step, you'd come up into the passing position, the second step, and up into the cycle and continue, right? Same thing. It just for some reason works. And I couldn't find reference of this, by the way. Anyway, only for tarantulas, but they move so slowly, so that was really hard to find. So I'm just going to simplify this for you. At frame 5, we're going to go down. At frame 10, you can middle mouse 1 to 10. Take frame 5, middle mouse that to 15, and then middle mouse 10 to 20. Sorry. And yeah. Sorry, I just turned off notifications for now. So now we get this up and down movement. If we're looking at the translation, I don't know why there's, okay, there's now the keys, just the Y. We're getting this up and down movement, fine. However, it's starting from 0 and going down. I'd like to just take that and split it through the middle of 0. So I don't want the up to be 0. I want it to have a value on top of it. So I'll just lift it up a little bit like that. Cycle the keys. And under no circumstances ever do I ever want you guys to show me animation where you have flat tangents, especially on a Y curve. Never, never, never. What I want you to do is shift and select your tangent handles, all 3 of them, on the top, middle mouse to the right, and drag up, like that. Add a little bit of weight to it. Okay, you want to create like a tortoise shape. Then do the same for the 2 bottom ones. So shift and select, and add a bit of weight there. That's what your curve should look like. Okay, and if it's too big, which I think it is actually now even, it's too big, I'm going to take the whole curve and I'm going to scale it down through the middle. So I'm holding the scale key, I'm just bringing it down so that it's even less. No, it can be a bit more. It's a bigger spider. That's fine. Good. Right, perfect. With this curve, we're going to copy it because I don't want to just reanimate everything all over again. I'm just showing you the easiest way to do stuff. What we're going to do is we're going to animate the rotation of X. This one. Okay, we go to frame 1. Just make sure there isn't a keyframe on the X curve, so you don't have any keys on there. And you can right click on the channel box and just paste them on there. Paste selected. And when you select it, it should have the X curve. I don't know how much value it is. It's probably not a lot, so you probably wouldn't even notice the rotation. Therefore, we stay at a high key like this one, and we scale up until we start to notice. Zoom out a bit, start to notice the rotation. Okay, so there's a little bit there. Okay, so there it is. It's wiggling the bum quite a lot, so I think I can tone that down because we're going to add some overlap to the bum anyway, and we can bring this down a bit later. The next curve we can do is which one can we do now? Let's do the Z curve. Yeah, the Z curve. The Z curve is this roll to the side, left and right. And this one is different, however. So you can keep the 3 keys on your time slider. It's fine, timeline of Z. And we're going to be manipulating this. It doesn't really matter which way because the weight isn't shifting left and right. Spiders carry their weight with all the legs and they center the body. So the weight does not, under any circumstances, shift left and right. And whoever tells you that, you can tell them to go and learn how to animate spiders from Jono. Okay. So let's select the 2 tangent handles, and I'm bringing them up, and this one I'm bringing it down. Just adding an overshoot on both sides, and just seeing at this frame, I'm going to scale them up from the beginning, from the middle, just so we start to see a roll on the body. Okay, it can be as subtle as you want, just very, very subtle. That's all you want to have. And that's enough. That's all you need to do. Edit, copy. Now we go to the Y curve. And here we can just paste in these values in here on the Y curve. Oh, I have settings in from my other cycles. I have settings on there to duplicate a lot. Now the rotation of Y is left and right. Just be careful. If you go too much, you might snap the legs. The legs might have issues. So we're moving left and right a little bit, which is also nice. That's just left and right, right? So, okay, good. And we've got the X, the roll, the Y, and the Z all done, all finished. Now we have the tail animation. So it doesn't really have a tail, let's be honest. That's not a tail. But such is the way we've described it. We're going to take the X curve rotation of the head, copy that. Boom. Now we turn on the tail, tail viz, Keel's called it, and I'm going to shift and select all of these controls on the tail. Simple overlap tutorial. I've got a free one online, and there seems to be a key on here. Let's just zero that out. And what we want to do is rotate the Z curve of this bum, tail, and we're going to paste onto all of those controllers. So all of them should have keys on them. Very important. Okay. Now it's going to look a little bouncy. Boing, 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 boing on the bum. We don't want to do that, and how to do that is just to offset the keyframes from each other. So we take the first curve, we're going to drag it over by one frame. Second curve. As I deselect, it's deselecting, so I've got 4 controllers now left. I control and deselect the controller, and now have 3 in the graph editor. Drag it over by 1, deselect, I have 2, drag it over by 1, deselect, drag it over by 1. And now we get a little bit of an overshoot on the tail, so you'll see there's a little bit of a rotation on there, on the tail. We don't want it to be big. It's super important that we don't have it to be super big, because it gets very distracting. But it is subtle enough to see it. You can also, if you wanted to get super cartoony, is you could try and rotate it in the Y curves, but then you're going to get intersections on all of those controllers. So when you start rotating these proxies, you know, it starts to get a little too cartoony. But for the point of the tutorial, I'm going to copy all these curves from, you have to do it in selection. So you select from the front to the back in that order. Select your curves, copy, go to frame 1, go to the Y channel and paste. And that will paste the Y curve in that order with an offset. And there it is. It's a little wiggly, you can see. So that's probably why I don't really like to do that. But we can just tone this down quite a lot. But it'll still be there. It's just less obvious. Okay, just adds to a bit more realism. And guys, believe it or not, we're nearly there. We have one more thing to do, which are the pulp fangs. So we can add a bit more variation to the fang pulps. And I'm going to copy the X curve of this head. Copy it. And I'm going to paste it onto these controllers. I don't think we even need to do the first one. No, I'm not. I'm going to do these 3 controllers for now. Okay. I'm going to paste it onto Z. It already has animation. I suppose when I deleted everything, it didn't delete everything. As Maya's amazing at doing. Paste selected. Okay, so we have now these curves, and they should be not doing much, I don't think. Don't really notice much of a difference if I scale that. Okay, it's there, but it's not really there. What we want to do is we want to offset each one from the parent. Okay, so I'm going to just first of all deselect the parents, both of them. Offset by, maybe 2 frames. 2 frames. And then the second one I'll offset by 2 frames. And let's see if that's even noticeable. It is, it's there. But maybe the last controllers I can just exaggerate a bit more. A bit more floppier. Zoom in and just add a bit more favavoom. Then I'm going to take this section of the fangs, and not only am I going to offset the whole section from this section by 2 frames, 1, 2, is I'm also going to change the position of them from each other. From the side view, they're just exactly the same. So I'm going to take the whole thing, I'm going to shift it so that it's offset. Okay. And that's it. So it just adds that little variety. I think we're done. I think we're done with this. I think that it's time probably to put it on a path and have it move forward. So let me just save my work, and you save your work, and everyone's happy, and we turn on the motion path visibility controller, this one here. Now guys, to move this forward, there's like a 90% chance that it won't line up perfectly. I just want to teach you the principle of it, and then you guys can go ahead and do that later. So let me just go into the right view for now and go into wireframe mode. I have the motion path selected, and I'm going to set a key at 1 on the motion path control. And at frame 2, I'm also going to set a key. I'm going to open up the graph. I'm going to look at the translation of Z curve. And if we're playing the time slider, you can see that the feet, if we're looking at the feet, they are moving backwards, right? What we want to do is we want to take the motion path controller and we want to drag it forward so that over 1 frame, the foot stays in exactly the same place. Okay? Take your time. Once you do that, you have the forward motion of animation. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to go through and step through these 2 keys using my hotkey as I step through. I'm going to turn on maybe the grid for you guys also, just to see. It does help, and I just hope that it kind of works the situation. So at frame 2, I'm going to select this keyframe and I'm going to drag it up so that it doesn't really matter which leg it's just whatever leg is moving backwards, you need to be mindful of, and you can go and move that so that the foot over 1 frame more or less stays in place. Okay, getting there. A little bit more maybe. It's actually gone a little too far. And I want to make this linear, and I want to cycle it with the offset. So you go to curves, post infinity, cycle with offset. So it just continues up. And the foot should stick in place. If you drag the time slider, it should stick more or less in place. You can see there's a little bit of shift there. Let's see the other feet, if they're also shifting. Okay, this one is shifting a little bit. And that one's also shifting a little bit. So we could probably tweak that back a slight smidge. Anyway, there's a lot of fiddling around to get this to work properly. Sometimes it works, sometimes it's just doesn't work. It's difficult to get that to work, but we're getting there, nearly there. Suddenly it'll just go, oh, it works. I was there. Anyway, I'm not going to spend your time watching me do this, but there is a way to do it. Okay, so more or less done. The spider can now walk forward in space, and which it will do as it comes towards us. So we're going to go and increase the time slider to 150 frames. Double click your time slider, and the spider walks towards you. Pretty freaky. Pretty damn awesome too. And I think, yeah, I like this cycle much better than the other one. It's really cool. Yeah, nice. To add variation, there is one thing that you can do. And because if you're looking at everything looks very mechanical. Spiders are mechanical by nature, so it is normal. But if you want to try and break it up, which I know a lot of you will be asking me to do, is to offset one of the sides from the other wireframe. That is not as easy as said than done, but it kind of adds a little bit of offset variety to the cycle. It's not super mechanical, and it's just one frame off. So sometimes it reads much nicer. You'll notice that the foot is coming down, yeah, just a little offset from the other side by one frame. Okay, the next thing I want to do is so we have the spider walking forward, okay, and then what we want to do is I want to animate the camera and do some sort of really cool presentation for your animation, right? So when you're happy with your animation and you think, oh, that looks amazing, Jono, what an amazing teacher, I swear, couldn't have asked for a better teacher. And you're happy with the cycle and everything's looking good, then you can create a camera, right? So we can just go to like this view and go, you can press Control Shift C, I think it is, camera, create camera from view, Control Shift C. Now we're in the camera. So if I select the camera, I'm in perspective 1. I'll just call this render cam, and I'm going to split my view in Maya into 2 views. So I'm going to split it side by side by right clicking here and going to split 2 panes side by side. This one will be render cam, which is this side. I'm going to turn on my resolution gate and film gate. You can change your resolution gate up in the render settings, which everyone, I'm pretty sure, knows. So you go in and change your aspect ratio here. I'm just at 540. You can change it to 720, whatever, to Play Blast. And I'm going to select the camera. I'm going to go to the attribute editor. I'm going to turn the gate mask color and display options down, so it's black. And then I'm going to make the transparency full, so it's also black. If it is doing something crazy, it's probably your the resolution, fill resolution gate. It might be set to fill, and then you might not be seeing it all the time, and you might think, oh, what's happening? So go to the film back and change fill to overscan. Okay. Then in perspective, yeah, so we have the camera here. I'm going to set a key on it. So I'll set a key at, let's just frame it nicely. So maybe something like that. Set a key on the camera, and we go to frame 150 and show cameras. I think it's already there. Let's just show the camera. It's very small. You can go to the locator scale and change that to be a bit bigger. Don't scale the camera up. Don't do this. No, 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 no. Only the locator scale. Anyway, at frame 150, we can have the camera slide past as the spider walks towards us. Just to add something interesting, maybe at frame 1 we can be up top the spider looking down. Kind of cool. And as it comes towards us, we drop the height of the camera and maybe have it kind of walk past us or something. A bit of gimbal going on there already. It's crazy, man. Maya still hasn't fixed that, but hey, whatever. I'm not Not complaining, not complaining. What we don't want to do is have the audience's eye get drawn too much to the one side. So I'm going to drag the X curve over on the camera a little earlier by adding in a bit more weight onto that turn. Also with the cam, in the beginning, the keyframes always have to be linear. You know, if they're not, it's like saying to the action camera guy, action, and he's like, oh, okay. You know, he has to be ready or in motion before. Okay, so, and I think that's it. I think, you know, once you're happy with, your animation, you can play blast, and yeah, that's it. It's pretty scary stuff. Anyway, I hope that this tutorial has helped you. I'm just trying to think if I've covered everything. If there's any questions, you can always email me or write us through the academy. And if you're interested in joining the channel, please do, and like and subscribe and all that stuff. It really helps the channel, and we're growing the courses and the free content that I have now spent 1.5 hours teaching. And yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. And yeah, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.